Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar presentation entitled Understanding the DDD Budget and a Guide to the Services Available. So excited that you are joining me today. Just want to share that today's webinar is hosted by Caregivers of New Jersey, which is part of the Family Resource Network, or FRN for short. FRN is a network of nonprofit organizations that's been supporting individuals with disabilities and chronic health conditions, along with their families, since 1970. Through its affiliates, including Epilepsy Services of New Jersey, Autism Family Services of New Jersey, and Caregivers of New Jersey, FRN connects people to community-based services, education, and training. Annually, FRN supports over 3,500 individuals through direct support and 80,000 individuals through training and education throughout all 21 counties in New Jersey. So today's presentation is about the DDD budget and an overview of the different services available. But where I want to begin today's presentation is we're going to sort of jump into the very end of the DDD eligibility process. And that is when the individual is going to go through the NJCAT, also known as the New Jersey Comprehensive Assessment Tool. Now, I do have a presentation that is all about the overall transition process into DDD services, where I touch on this. I actually have another presentation that is all about the NJCAT assessment. And if you would like links to those recordings, definitely feel free to reach out to us. I'll have the email address at the end of the presentation. But the NJCAT is an assessment that DDD does, and it's going to assess the individual in their self-care abilities, behavioral and medical questions, and all of the answers are assessed, and DDD will assign the individual a tier letter. Typically, they are assigned A through E. So a tier A individual is someone that does not require a lot of support or care, or I should just say really, they require less care than a tier E individual. Now, there is also something called an acuity differentiated factor, which might be added to the tier for someone that has high clinical support needs based on either medical and or behavioral concerns. And what that acuity does is it gives them a boost in their DDD budget to be able to pay for those things. Like, let's just say they need a registered nurse, or they need a behaviorist and require one-to-one care. This acuity, which is signified with a lowercase letter A next to the main tier letter. And so this this acuity will be given for cases like those. Now, the tier letter corresponds to an individualized budget you will receive from the division. So every tier letter corresponds to a budget that you will get. And it's also associated with the rate that providers get paid for providing services. And so let's just say a tier A individual attends a day program. That day program provider will get paid a standardized rate to provide support and services for that person. And let's just say that day program is providing support for someone that's a tier C. Like, they're going to get paid more per hour for a tier C individual versus a tier A. So the tier is associated with the reimbursement rate that providers get paid. So this budget you will receive annually. Okay, so every year, the ISP, also known as the Individualized Service Plan, it will renew on a yearly basis. And as long as you are eligible for DDD services, the plan renews, as does the budget. The budget can be used to purchase various supports and services. Now, one thing to keep in mind before I jump into this slide is that if you don't use all of the money in your budget in a given plan year, it does not carry over into the next plan year. So whatever you don't use is lost. It just goes back to DDD. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I just want to, the reason I posted this slide is so that you can see the differences in budgets by tier letter of someone that's enrolled onto DDD's supports program waiver versus someone that is enrolled on DDD's community care program waiver. So you'll see an A individual, a tier A individual on the supports program, they will receive about $28,000 per year versus a tier E on the supports program receives $86,000 a year. Now, most individuals that are graduating high school, just starting out with DDD, they all get enrolled onto the supports program waiver. It's very rare that someone will be enrolled on the community care program waiver graduating right out of high school. That is not typical. There are cases where it does happen, but typically all people are enrolled onto the supports program waiver. So again, you can see tier A individuals, B individuals definitely have support needs, but not as much as a tier D and E. So the tier Ds and Es are going to have higher budgets. You are also going to see the difference in this slide for those that have that acuity, that lower level A. So it gives a bump up for from $28,000 to $36,000. So again, a tier A with an acuity, it's going to have some clinical care need, clinical level of need for either behavioral and or medical. So in order to pay for that, they will get that bump up in the budget. You'll also see that in the supports program, there are only 2 categories of types of, so let me reverse that. In the supports program, you'll see 2 columns here. And those breakdowns I like to call category buckets. So there's an employment day bucket and a supports bucket. One of the biggest differences I want you to see is that in the community care program, there are 3 buckets. And someone on the community care program is going to receive more money because there is this additional column. Let me jump back real quick. For those individuals that are going to live in a group home, they have to be enrolled onto this community care program waiver. There's a waiting list for the community care program waiver. And the reason there's additional money and there's additional column or bucket, there's only one service that can be billed, and that's called individual supports. And so people that live in a group home, this is the service that group home agencies bill for. It's individual supports. Now, just because someone is in the community care program waiver, it does not mean they have to live in a group home. You can use this additional money in the budget to hire direct support professionals, to hire your own employees, also known as self-directed employees. So I don't go into all of the specific details about the community care program waiting list. I do go into it in the NJCAT webinar that I give. But the biggest thing I want you to just see is the differences in budget amounts versus the tiers in between the tier letters, and then also the differences in budget between someone that's on the supports program waiver and the community care program waiver. Now, if you find that you don't have enough money in the budget for your needs, or your child's needs change, you can request an NJCAT reassessment, but it has to be substantiated. You know, a lot of families I've seen just, think that there's an endless supply to the budget, and just because they want a lot of the extracurriculars, they think that they should get it. But that's not really how the DDD budget works. The DDD budget is designed to provide funding for the actual substantiated needs that your child has. So if you start to find, as you look through the NJCAT, that there are a lot of discrepancies, that your child's needs have changed over the years, you should request a reassessment, and your support coordinator can provide you with a reassessment request form. One thing to keep in mind is it doesn't guarantee that your child's tier will change. DDD might take a look at your request and say, well, actually, we don't agree. We really don't think that this is a substantiated request. So they can deny a reassessment request as well. Again, your support coordinator can help guide you through that decision making. Okay, so one of the things I want to know about the DDD budget is this is not a check you're going to receive in the mail every year. The budget really is an allocation of funds set aside for your child. So you don't get actual money. You are going to have to choose a support coordination agency that you want to work with, and you'll be assigned a support coordinator, just like a case manager, and that person is going to be the one that helps you find services and supports that your child needs or you're interested in. And they're going to write something called the ISP, which stands for the Individualized Service Plan. They will add the services that you want into your plan and help ensure that you stay within your budget, help you to understand which services come out of the different budget categories I just showed you. And again, as I already mentioned, the budget renews every year. However, any money not used in a given plan year will not carry over into the next plan year. So this is a slide that shows a table of all of the different services you can use your budget for. And for the remainder for our presentation today, I'm going to give an overview of all of these services. So let's jump right in. Assistive technology. So the budget can pay and will pay for an assistive technology device, as well as any services related to having an assistive technology device. So what is an assistive technology device? It's any item, piece of equipment, or product system used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of an individual. The services that might be involved with assistive technology might be having an evaluation to help you decide which device would be most appropriate. Maybe you need to learn how to use a device, and there's a fee or charge involved with that. So the budget can pay for these things. So some examples of assistive technology would be, the purchase and leasing of the AT device. Maybe the assistive technology device needs to be fitted or customized or designed for you, or maybe something breaks or you need to replace something. The budget will pay for that as well. So hopefully this gives you an idea of assistive technology. Therapies. So these include things like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, language, and hearing therapy. So a lot of individuals, high school students, have received these therapies throughout elementary school, high school, and this might be a service that they require even throughout adulthood. So you can use the DDD budget for therapies. One thing to keep in mind, though, there are two different types of therapy. There's rehabilitative therapy and there's habilitative therapy. Rehabilitation might be needed. Let's just say someone gets in a car accident and they need PT to rehab. This type of therapy, DDD will require you to go through your health insurance first. If it is denied, you have to appeal it and show DDD that you've appealed it. And if still needed, you can use your DDD budget for it. So there's kind of that's a difference in a requirement of DDD for rehabilitative therapies. However, let's just say your child needs ongoing physical therapy so that they have flexibility in their muscles, or they need to increase their muscle tone on an ongoing basis, or they need ongoing speech. This is considered habilitative. And what you'll need to do is you'll need to get a script from your doctor for that therapy, but the words habilitative therapy have to be on that script. So it has to say habilitative speech, habilitative physical therapy. What happens once you get the script, your support coordinator will help you find a DDD approved PT, OT, speech therapist in your area and help connect you to that. Behavioral supports are often needed, and this might occur in a group setting or one-on-one. Behavioral supports will include an initial assessment and development of a behavior plan, or it might include ongoing monitoring. And so you can use the DDD budget for behavioral supports. Behavioral supports are going to help the individual acquire or maintain appropriate interactions with others. Sometimes behavioral supports occur at home. Other times, day programs will have behaviorists, and you can get that done in a day program setting as well. Personal emergency response systems, or PERS devices. You guys have, well, if you're my age, you might remember that old time commercial of that poor old woman falling down, and she says, "I've fallen and I can't get up," and she presses that button for help. This is a personal emergency response system. So these are devices that will help someone get help in case of an emergency. And typically they are connected to some sort of response center so that when they press that button, they can get the help they need. Examples of what the budget will pay for is the device itself, if there's any cost to install the device, and oftentimes there is a monthly cost to be connected to that response center. So the budget will pay for all of those things. Nowadays, a lot of these devices have GPS on them, and so if you have someone that tends to wander or is at risk of elopement, these devices are really helpful. Some of them can be worn, some of them can be clipped on clothing, some of them are just a device located within the home, and so there are lots of different options out there nowadays for these devices. Cognitive rehabilitation. So these are therapeutic cognitive activities based on an assessment of a person's brain behavior deficits. So some examples of cognitive rehab are direct retraining, compensatory strategies, and cognitive orthotics and prostheses. So your budget can be used for this as well. Community-based supports is a very common service that we see put into ISPs. And this is a service that provides direct support and assistance, whether the primary caregiver is present or not. And don't let the name fool you. Even though it says community-based supports, this service can be provided in the home as well. And the goal of community-based supports is to really help the person achieve and or maintain increased independence, productivity, enhanced family functioning, and inclusion in the community. So community-based supports can be delivered, it is delivered one-on-one. And a lot of the times what community-based supports looks like is a direct support professional, from a DDD approved agency coming in and helping your child with learning, activities of daily living. So maybe it is, helping them become more independent, cleaning their room, helping them cook or learn to cook, laundry skills. Maybe it's helping them navigate using public transportation, or helping them learn how to grocery shop. So all of those activities of daily living, or even socialization, you know, having someone to go out in the community and go to a movie, go out to lunch, help them meet new people. This is all would fall under community-based supports. Dayhabilitation. So you have heard me mention the word day program now a few times. So the service that is billed under is dayhabilitation. So these are services that are either going to provide education or training to help someone acquire the skills needed to participate in the community. So this might be helping someone with problem-solving skills, self-help, social skills, daily living skills. And a lot of the time, these environments and activities are all designed to help someone acquire these skills, as well as helping them interact in a positive way socially and behaviorally, helping someone learn how to socialize, helping them build friendships and peer relationships, helping them to become more independent. Dayhabilitation is always and must be provided during daytime hours, and they're also always offered in a center-based or community-based setting. Again, AKA known as day programs. Your support coordinator will help you find a day program in your area, you know, as they get to know your child and what their needs are and maybe some of their challenges, they can connect you to day programs that they think might be most appropriate. But it will be up to you to go and visit these day programs, you know, to get an idea of whether you think it will be a good fit for your child. The budget will also pay for environmental modifications. So these are any types of physical adaptations to the home that are necessary to ensure the health and safety and welfare of the individual. It might also be needed to help the individual function more independently in the home as well. So these are things like those ramps going to the home, widening doorways if you need for wheelchair access, bathroom modifications, even emergency generators for medical equipment you might have, air filters, humidifiers, stair lifts, even tracking systems for equipment needed to do transfers. So all of these things the budget can be used for. You can also use the budget for vehicle modifications. So the budget can be used for assessments or adaptations. You know, if you need, you know, steering or brake controls, a lift or a ramp in the vehicle. Sometimes roofs might be needed to be raised or lowered, raising of the roof or the floors as well. Both vehicle modifications and environmental modifications always require an evaluation done by a professional, but the budget will pay for that evaluation. Goods and services are one of my favorites. So what falls under goods and services? Well, it can be a specific service, a piece of equipment or supplies that don't fall in any of these other categories that I'm going through. Also, if you cannot find these services, equipment, or supplies generically for free somewhere, then you, as long as they are justified and meet certain criteria, they can be paid for through the budget. So again, certain requirements need to be met that your support coordinator would walk through with you. These things are purchased with the DDD budget, but they're paid for by DDD's fiscal intermediary. So these are things like gym memberships and YMCA memberships, or maybe there's exercise classes you want to take, tutoring, art classes, music and drama, cooking. Maybe you want to purchase a microwave or a garage door opening for easier access to the home. Fingerprinting. Maybe the cost of fingerprinting is not covered by an employer. The budget will pay for it. Classes as well within the general public. College classes can be included in this as well. So again, there are some specific criteria that need to be met, but your support coordinator can help you walk through those things to ensure that the budget would pay for these types of things. If you ever need interpreter services, you can use the budget for that. This service must be delivered face-to-face. Whoever is providing the service has to be fluent in the language, and it can be done in the home or in the community. And this would also include interpreters for American Sign Language as well. Supports training. And so to talk about natural supports training, I think we need to identify what is a natural supporter. So this is anyone that supports your loved one that does not get paid. So this might be a parent, another family member or sibling, maybe it's your neighbor across the street, or a friend, or a coworker who happens to just get along really well with your child, and they might provide support or care, but they don't get paid. They would be considered a natural supporter. So natural supports training then is going to be training for these natural supporters so that they can better support your child. So this might be, maybe you need training in how to use a piece of medical equipment, or maybe your child has a behavior plan and you need to learn how to implement that behavior plan. You can get natural supports training for that. You know, maybe your child now has a special diet, or they were just diagnosed with diabetes and you have no idea how to help or support them. You can purchase natural supports training, and there are approved DDD agencies that can provide that for you and would send someone to your home for these specific needs. There is someone on one of the people that I supervise right now, and this young woman has a boyfriend, and she really wants him to learn how to help care for her. So she's in a wheelchair 24/7, and he wants to be a part of her care, but he needs help how to learn how to do these things. So natural supports training is something we recently put in her ISP. I want to now turn to some services specific to employment. So career planning is an employment planning and support service that provides assistance in obtaining, maintaining, or advancing in competitive employment or self-employment. So one thing to think about and remember when we talk about competitive employment, we are talking about someone that is going to be working in the community amongst the general population, and they will get paid minimum wage at least. So that's what we mean by competitive employment. Career planning typically is done for just a focused and limited amount of time. And what it does is it's really going to help someone identify a career path. And the way that this is done is typically through doing interest surveys, situational assessments, trying to really figure out what direction should someone go in, what type of career might be best for this person. And they will develop a plan that is going to help them move towards that goal. Now, pre-vocational training is something that's going to help someone learn about a particular job and provide different work experiences. And this can include volunteering. So, you know, one thing to keep in mind about pre-vocational training is that the goal with pre-voc is to develop general non-job task-specific skills that's going to help lead someone or help move someone towards competitive employment in the community. So these are those soft skills So, how do you appropriately communicate with supervisors and coworkers and customers? How do you conduct yourself in the workplace? How do you dress appropriately? Helping someone learn how to follow directions and stay on tasks, how to problem solve, even workplace safety. So these are all examples of pre-vocational training. There are day programs out there that offer pre-vocational training. And again, support coordinator can help you find DDD approved agencies to provide this service. Supported employment is the last employment related service I'm going to talk about. And these are any activities that would be needed to help someone either obtain a job or learn a job or maintain a job, again, specifically in the community, in an integrated work setting. Supported employment can take place either one-to-one or in a small group setting as well. And so this would include training for a job, helping someone to learn how to do their job. You've heard the term probably job coaches. So supported employment is the service that is purchased to have a job coach. Maybe your child gets a job and they get benefits, and you need someone to sort of help teach them about, well, what does that mean? How do I choose, a health plan, or how do I choose different benefits? Or maybe they need to learn how to get to work, how to use public transportation. So this is training that's really going to help someone be successful when they find a job, as well as just helping them find a job in general. All right, the next one is respite. So we all know that caregivers need breaks from their child. And hey, I'll even throw this out there. The child you support needs a break from you as well, sometimes. So respite is short-term care for the individual to give parents and caregivers some respite. And like I said, vice versa sometimes too. Respite can be provided on an hourly basis, a daily basis, and even overnight. There's also weekend respite. It can occur in the home. So let's just say you want to go away for the weekend and you want someone to come spend the weekend with your child. That can occur in your home. There are also some group homes in the state that will provide respite. So let's just say you need to travel out of state or out of country for a week. There are some group homes that will provide respite. You do have to give a lot of notice for that though, and your support coordinator would help you find group homes that can provide that. There's also camp and hotel respites as well. There's some great agencies out there that do hotel weekend respite where they have lots of fun activities for the individuals. They go out to eat, they go to like Six Flags, lots of fun activities. And there's also camp respite as well. And this photo here in this slide is from FRN's Camp Nova, which takes place every summer up in Sussex County, New Jersey. They have a blast. And so if you are interested in that, you can definitely look up Camp Nova online. Then is also typically a much needed service for certain people. And transportation is needed to access different services and resources in the community. So maybe someone needs to get to work. Maybe someone needs a way to get out shopping and get grocery shopping. Transportation is the service needed. And so transportation can be provided by DDD approved transportation providers, as well as generic services or vendors that are used by the general public as well. A lot of individuals now are using the budget to pay and use Uber or Lyft. If you have what's called a self-directed employee, which I'll get into soon in this presentation, you might want to hire someone as an employee so that they can also provide transportation. You can use the budget for this as well. Your support coordinator is going to be your go-to to help you walk through this process to find these things. So this is where I do want to touch on self-directed services and what that means. So self-directed services are an approach to access home and community-based services, but it gives you increased choice and authority of where these home-based services and community-based services are going to come. It gives you control over who you want to use to provide these services. So typically speaking, in order to access all of these different services, you're going to have to use a DDD approved provider agency. Your support coordinator can help you find these agencies, but you might be someone that says, you know what, no, I don't want to use these agencies. I want to hire who I want to hire. You might have family friends. You might even post a job listing on Indeed to look for someone so that you can interview them and you decide who you want to hire. So what self-directed services means is that within the parameters of your child's budget, you can choose your own caregivers. And these would be known as self-directed employees, or SDEs for short. You can hire as many SDEs as you want, as long as the budget will support it. SDEs, though, however, are going to be paid using DDD's fiscal intermediary. DDD just switched to a new fiscal intermediary called Acumen. And these fiscal intermediaries are going to conduct employer-related tax, such as processing the payroll and making sure your SDEs get paid, whether it's through direct deposit or checks. They take care of the tax withholding. And so again, if you as a parent or caregiver want to be hired as an SDE, you can. DDD does allow that now. But for anyone that you want to hire, you will need to go through the fiscal intermediary. Again, there is a process to this, and your support coordinator will help you walk through that. Easter Seals is also another fiscal intermediary that you can choose. There are pros and cons to each, and again, your support coordinator can help you walk through that in making a decision. For more information about self-direction, I do have a link to this. I know that you're watching this presentation, but if you'd like a PDF with that live link, you can definitely email us. But you can do a Google search online and just put DDD self-direction and the link will pop right up. So as I've mentioned, and as you've heard and are probably getting tired of me talking about, your support coordinator is going to play a big role in helping you access all of these services. And when it comes to support coordination, you do have a choice. So upon completion of the NJCAT assessment, soon after, DDD will have you choose a support coordination agency you want to work with. And your support coordinator is going to act like a case manager where, they're going to meet with you, sit down and get to know your child and talk about some of their goals, their likes, their dislikes, their interests, and really discuss service options with you and then connect you to those services. They're also going to ensure that you stay within your budget. The great thing about support coordinators is that they're going to understand all of DDD's policies and procedures so that you don't need to know them. There are lots of policies and procedures, but they're there to help you navigate that whole thing. So I hope this presentation has been helpful to you today to help you understand a bit about the DDD budget, the different waiver programs, and also now to help equip you in knowing what are the services that are going to be within your reach once you get this DDD budget. Caregivers of New Jersey was one of the original 3 support coordination agencies in the state. We've been providing support coordination for nearly 20 years now, and we can provide support coordination in the counties that you see on this slide. As always, we are here to help you. And so if you have specific questions about any of these services or the overall transition process into DDD, we definitely would love to connect with you. Please feel free to reach out to Allison Warwin. Her email address is here and phone number. It is a joy for us to help families walk through this process, so please don't ever hesitate in reaching out to us. Thanks again so much for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.